coming from the United States.
所以这个地方还是要谢谢这个没有想到欧盟的国家在台湾有这么多的投资，所以这也是什么理由我们特别会跑来这里跟大家吃午餐。
So we would like to thank the EU investors and entrepreneurs for investing so much in Taiwan, and that is why we are here to have this luncheon with you.
大概是这样的我想大家最关心的还是能源台湾还是在未来还是要尽力的增加这个再生能源，但是有个问题是恐怕我们在这边先讲一个概念科学跟宗教不一样的地方就是宗教有它不能改变的东西，但是科学是说如果你有新的证据我可以改变。
I know that the topic that's dear to everyone's heart here is energy. In the future, Taiwan needs to ramp up our share of renewable energy. However, there's one issue here. Now, before that, I want to talk about the difference between science and religion. When you talk about religion, there's something that cannot be changed with the religion. However, with science, as new evidences come along, we can change according to the new evidence.
这也是我对核能的态度。事实上，我认为核能在经过三岛里、车洛比还有这个东京的311核子事件以后，核能在全世界安全性是有提高的。但是你要是问我说它绝对安全吗？我还是认为它有一定的风险。只是说台湾必须在好处跟cost 跟 benefit 当中，还是要做一个务实的取舍。
So that marks my approach towards nuclear power. After 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima, I believe that the safety of nuclear power plants in the world have increased. However, if you ask me, is it an absolutely safe energy technology? I think there are still risks. But in Taiwan, we have to make a pragmatic choice in balancing between cost and benefit.
那固然再生能源才是我们的目标，但是在再生能源如果我们要强迫它很快的速度达到我们要的目标，我们就才有可能去废掉核能。但是我也觉得不需要为了要废掉核能，然后把我们整个再生能源的这种计划做得太仓促。
Our goal, of course, is to pursue renewable energy. However, we have to first be able to accelerate the development of renewable energy within a short period of time before we can really phase out nuclear power in a total. So I don't think it is fitting to promote nuclear power, to promote renewable power in such a pace just because we want to phase out nuclear power.
我们就是因为要求在2025年要停止核能的使用，所以变成我们整个再生能源的进度要很快。但是问题当我们要求再生能源的进度很快的时候，就出现了很多的问题。
It's because that we have already set the goal of stopping all nuclear power use by 2025, that we have to fast pace the development of renewable energy here in Taiwan. But as we fast pace renewable energy development, we are encountered with so many issues.
所以虽然再生能源还是我们最终的目标，但是我还是主张在过渡时期使用核能可以让台湾的能源比较平顺的过渡到再生能源。
So, of course, renewable energy is our ultimate goal. However, in the transition period, the use of nuclear power can make sure that we have a smooth transition to this ultimate goal.
所以核2、核3应该继续使用。核1因为它已经开始在拆了到底能不能再回路使用，这还是要专家的研究。那核4就必须要我们再做一次总体检以后来做决定。
So I believe we need to continue to use nuclear power 2 and power plant 3. And for nuclear power plant number 1, because the decommissioning has already started, we need expert evaluation before we can determine if continued use of this plant is possible. And for nuclear power plant number 4, once again, we need to have an overall health checkup before we make any decision.
不过不管怎么样2050年净零碳排放还是整个台湾国家经济发展的目标。 只是说我们如何以一个比较务实的方法来达到这个目标这是我们要去思考的。
At the end of the day, 2050 net zero emission, that is the overall economic and national development goal of Taiwan. It's just that we have to come up with pragmatic ways of reaching this goal.
所以我觉得整个国家的政策其实就遵守3个原则 ：rational、pragmatic 跟 scientific。如果能用这种态度，其实我们今天面对的很多问题很清楚，就会很清楚的有答案。
I believe in development of national policies, we need to base on 3 principles: rational, pragmatic, and scientific. And when we develop our policies based on these 3 principles, we will find answers to many questions.
所以 ，green energy 固然是一个目标但是在现阶段恐怕我们要说 clean energy。这 clean energy 就是包括再生能源跟核能。那我的目标是说，当随着再生能源的增加的时候，才可以慢慢把核能降下去。但是这一切，但是也不要为了一定要把核能拿掉，那强迫再生能源要去那个发展的速度要更快。
So green energy is our goal, but at the current stage, I'm afraid we can only say clean energy, and clean energy means renewable energy and nuclear power. And as we increase the amount of renewable energy we can generate, we can decrease the amount of nuclear energy. However, it shouldn't be made that way, that in order to remove all the nuclear energy, that we are forcing renewable energy to fill up the gap.
那既然电力是整个经济甚至是民生的基础所以维持电力的稳定性是一个 top 1 priority 的事。
Electricity is key to industrial development and social needs, so it's our top 1 priority to ensure stable electricity supply.
同样的台湾是一个海岛国家，如果我们让天然气占整个能源的50%，只要有任何问题，让天然气不能进入台湾，马上就会处理。更何况天然气在国际上的这种价格变化很大，所以要让天然气占整个台湾发电量50%，我认为在理论上是不合理的。
On the other hand, Taiwan is an island, so if our plan is to have LNG taking up 50% of our energy share, then any issue that come along with the transportation and importation of LNG, Taiwan will be immediately faced with challenges. So, and also we see that the global international prices of LNG changes a lot. So I believe that setting LNG as 50% share of our energy makeup is not feasible.
那其实关于电力，你知道吗？它不是纯粹只有发电，其实它分4个部门：发电，还有电的输送，还有一个是节电这个最后是电的储存。所以必须以整体的思考必须以全面来思考电的问题。我觉得我们在过去花太多时间在思考电的产生，事实上其他3样也是重要的事件。
When we talk about electricity policies, we need to think of 4 aspects included in it. These are generation, distribution, conservation, and storage. We have to make comprehensive plans based on these 4 pillars. And in the past, we spent too much time thinking only about generation, but these 3 other pillars are equally important.
我们希望在10年内台湾的电动车跟充电桩都要增加5倍以上。但是，如果这些电动车它用的电还是使用烧煤炭，那这个电动车就没有意义。所以，如何使用 clean energy 这还是一个很重要的思考。
Our goal is to quintuple the number of EVs and chargers in Taiwan in the next 10 years. However, if these EVs still run on electricity generated by coal fire, then that would be meaningless. So clean energy is a very important topic for us.
那我想在座都非常关心台湾跟大陆的关系。就我过去举办过8次的台北、上海双城论坛，还有办过2017年4大运动，我提出5个原则，就是互相认识、互相了解、互相尊重、互相合作，最后那个互相谅解， 我后来发现它很难翻成英文，所以我在这里还是用中文写。
So another topic that I know is dear to your heart is cross-strait relations, the relationship between Taiwan and mainland. I have organized 8 twin city forums between Taipei City and Shanghai City. Taipei also hosted the 2017 Universiade. And I have proposed the principle of 5 mutuals. And these are mutual know, understand, respect, cooperate, and the last one, 谅解 in Chinese. I found that it is very difficult to be translated into English, and that is why I am saving the Chinese original here.
这个谅解就是说 I know your difficulties, you know my difficulties, so we must find a solution to treat our difficulties.
So 谅解 basically means I know your difficulties and you know my difficulties, and we have to find a way to treat each other's difficulties.
我发现我在美国的时候，我很难跟美国人解释什么叫谅解，所以这也是我一直认为说，我一个想法就是，台湾比世界更了解中国，台湾也比中国更了解世界。所以应该台湾要扮演一个中国跟世界沟通的这个桥梁。
In the United States, I found it difficult to explain it in a way that the people in the United States would understand what 谅解 means in Chinese. But I believe that Taiwan knows China better than the rest of the world. And Taiwan also knows the world better than China. So Taiwan should serve as the bridge between China and the world.
不过要处理目前台湾跟中国的关系经过我去美国跟日本访问以后，我觉得用2个字最能够来说明我们台湾跟中国目前的我们中国对台湾的目前的政策，这2个字 deterrence 跟 communication。
So after visiting the United States and Japan, I would use 2 words to sum up the attitude of China towards Taiwan, and they are deterrence and communication.
不是台湾对中国。
台湾对中国 I would use 2 words to summarize Taiwan's approach towards China. These are deterrence and communication.
Deterrence 在中文叫嚇阻，它的意思就是说我没有办法单独跟你对打，但是如果你打我的话，你会很惨的 in trouble。
So deterrence means that although I cannot challenge you on my own, however, if you decide to attack me, then you will be in big trouble.
我们也不可能把我们台湾的前途寄托在别人的其他国家的善意上面，所以还是要发展一定的国防力量。所以我也觉得国防经费要增加的，或者疫情要增加，我觉得这个还是必要的。 因为我们还是要建立一个 deterrence 的能力。
Of course, we cannot entrust Taiwan's future on the goodwill of other nations. So we need to build up our national defense capacity. We will need to increase our national defense expenditure to establish a certain level of deterrence.
Communication 我还是相信沟通可以增加双方的善意，最起码减少误解。你要知道人类绝大多数的战争都是意外。
I still believe that communication is key in improving the goodwill between the 2 sides, and at least it can decrease the possibility of misunderstandings. We must know that most of the warfares in human history are accidents.
理论上台湾海峡不应该发生战争，但是这个风险还是存在，所以我们必须想办法让这个战争的风险降到最低。
In theory, there shouldn't be war on the Taiwan Straits. However, there is still risk that this may happen. So we need to do our best to minimize the risk as much as possible.
那刚才讲过对话还是非常重要，因为完全不对话，你知道会出现 misunderstanding 跟 miscommunication。所以我还是主张台湾跟大陆之间还是要对话。有人在讲说，双方关系这么不好，为什么要对话？ 我倒觉得这件事情要倒过来想，就是因为关系不好，所以要对话。
Communication and dialogues are critical because they can reduce they can reduce misunderstandings and will not create miscommunication. So we must have dialogues between Taiwan and China. Some people may question, now that the relationship between Taiwan and China is not so good, why should we have communication? Well, I would say that it's exact opposite. It's because we don't have the relations that we need to communicate and have dialogues.
台湾跟大陆的交往还是要分顺序的如果是文化上的交流、运动上的交流，那这个当然双方都比较会没有冲突。那能够在这个基础上再开始谈经济上的交流，那经济上的交流或合作，那政治上的讨论在现阶段会觉得有困难。不过还是依序来上在将来才比较有机会谈到最后的问题。
In terms of the dialogue and engagement between Taiwan and China, I think we need to take some ordered steps. We can start with culture and sports. These are the areas that I think both sides would be very willing to communicate with each other on. And based on this foundation, we can move on to economic cooperation. In terms of politics, I think at the current stage, this will be a more difficult topic to approach between the two sides. However, we still need to take those initial steps before we can think about the possibility of reaching this final topic.
我当台北市长8年一个很重要的心得就是说，不要尝试一天去改变这个国家，但是也不要相信说什么事都不做，这个国家会改变。所以处理两岸关系其实就是一个字 ，step by step。
I served as the mayor of Taipei for 8 years, and one thing that I have learned is that don't imagine that we can change the world or change the nation in one day. However, we should not think that by doing nothing, this nation can be changed. So when we talk about cross-strait relations, that key word that I believe in is step by step.
刚才讲过我们还是要准备战争但是不要害怕。就是说，如果你害怕战争还是不要准备战争才能够不怕战争，因为你有良好的准备。当然具备战争的能力也不需要去挑起战争。
I believe we need to be prepared for war and not fear it. It's because we are well prepared so that we are not afraid of war. And we need to be ready for war but not provoke it.
那另外，全民国防还是很重要。事实上，我发现美国政府对台湾最关心的就是说，到底台湾人有没有自己保卫自己国家的决心或者信心这是他们非常关心的。
All-out national defense is also critical. I have found that the biggest concern of the United States on Taiwan is that whether or not the people of Taiwan have the will and the confidence to protect our own nation.
我们台湾终究不能单独去对抗中国，所以还是需要周边国家的合作，所以能够参加区域性安全组织是非常重要的。
At the end of the day, Taiwan cannot confront China alone, so the participation and involvement in regional security organization is important.
最后我想台湾还是欧盟一个很可靠的partner一个伙伴那我们也相信说台湾必须成为国际社会的一份子，我们也不愿意遵守国际的规则，那剩下就是我们大家一起努力。
Taiwan is a reliable partner of the EU, and Taiwan has the willingness to become a member of the international community and abide by international rules. So let's work together.
Okay, Cuban news start.
Thank you for your very brilliant presentation, Dr. Ke, Chairman Ke. I now would like to invite some of you to ask questions. Though many questions may have already been addressed by the presentation, I still believe that can go through more details and can elaborate more on specific topics. So who is the first to ask questions? Jason.
那个 Serge Sati， 主席珊珊跟那个秘书长，好，非常欢迎你们今天来欧洲商会。那我今天是代表欧洲商会教育委员会要问一个问题，因为我们今年的白皮书跟去年的白皮书， 都有提到，就是我们的政府现在因为用英文的这个能力不够。那我们今年甚至加的是希望政府的各个不同的部门，因为它不同的职能够有不同的培训。那台湾现在外国人不到1%。那如果我们真的要能够解决这些问题，要能够走向世界，想请这个主席看，我们如果您当总统的话，那我们这个问题究竟怎么一步一步的去实现？
So this is a question about the bilingual nation policy of Taiwan, and that in ECCT's position paper it has mentioned that the government agencies need to improve the training on the English capacities and proficiency of our personnel in different functional areas. So the question is for Chairman Ke, if he is elected as the president of Taiwan, what would he do with these policies?
我当台北市长的时候就开始推动双语教育嘛，事实上。 这要让市长认定，我们台北市236个学校已经有78个是使用双语教育。双语教育的定义是超过1/3以上的课程是用英文教育。我还是那一句话如果台湾要成为国际社会的一份子我们还是要想办法让台湾自己国际化。但是国际化里面一个很重要的就是双语教育。所以这样如果是有幸当台湾总统的，我会在全台湾跟台北市一样推动双语教育。
When I was the mayor of Taipei, I promoted bilingual education in Taipei schools. Out of the 236 schools in Taipei, 78 of them are already providing bilingual education. And by bilingual education, I mean that over 1/3 of the courses taught in these schools are taught in English. For Taiwan to become a member of the international society, we need to make sure that we have global perspectives and capacities here in Taiwan. And one way of reaching that goal is to provide bilingual education. So if I become the president of Taiwan, I will promote this bilingual education all of Taiwan.
Thank you. And next question, Alex.
I always have a question. Chairman Ke, thanks for the presentation. Firstly, also congratulations on your achievements in electrifying transport in Taipei. I think that's really something our community cares a lot about, and you've made excellent progress. I learned a lot about your energy policy in relation to nuclear energy, but actually you didn't speak much about renewables and particularly offshore wind. Could you say a few words about, I appreciate you're going to extend the lifetime of the nuclear, but what about offshore wind? What will you change in relation to the current government in terms of offshore wind? Thank you.
那这个问题是想要请教，首先非常恭喜这个柯主席在台北市长任内对于运输交通方面的这个政策的努力有很多的成果。那刚刚主席在简报的时候有提到关于核能的一个政策跟态度不过想要请教主席，对于这个再生能源，特别是离岸风电发展方面，如果未来进入政府的话，对于现任政府在这方面的政策会有哪一些改变的措施或想法呢？
基本上我还是相信市场。 就是说 should follow the rule of the market， 就是说要遵守市场的规则。所以 cost effect 是一个很重要的考量因素。在现阶段，我知道外国的风电公司最concern的是 made in Taiwan 这个问题，就是说有很多东西要在地化。我倒觉得是这样的理论上应该是让厂商决定怎么做对他们最有效率。 那如果有人主张某一部分必须面对台湾要局部化，那主张人就要提出他的理由。所以结论上应该结论是这样的，我还是主张遵守市场规则，让整个系统最有效率。那如果有些基于什么样的理由要让这些整个这个零件的一部分要在地生产，那主张人他应该提出理由。以我在当台北市长的经验里头。 只要经过这种几次辩论，问题全部都解决掉。
I believe that we need to respect and follow the rule of the market. So cost effectiveness is a very big factor to consider. I know that for many companies who are developing offshore wind here in Taiwan, the policy that they are most concerned with is this localization requirement that things need to be made in Taiwan. I think companies and businesses should make the decision about what's the most effective or efficient way of doing things. And if there are people who argue that some things, certain parts or components need to be localized, these people need to make an argument for it to convince other people. So I believe respecting the rule of the market can lead to the most efficient outcome. If people would like to argue otherwise, they need to make convincing proposals. And my experiences as the mayor of Taipei is that after a few rounds of debate like this, we can know the answers very clearly.
所以提出在地化的他要能够讲出他的理由。
So people who have argued for localization requirements, they need to present their case.
Thank you. And any question? Mike Jewel. Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Kerr, for your excellent presentation today. I've actually got two questions. So, one which Giuseppe isn't expecting. So, if I may start with this. It's widely recognized that Taiwan faces a major gap in talent. Something like 90% of companies are short of the talent that they need to be able to run their businesses. Now, the government has very ambitious targets for recruiting foreign talent into Taiwan. The Gold Card scheme was introduced a few years ago, and that seems to be the main platform for attracting foreign talent. I would ask you firstly, how effective is the current policy? And secondly, what would be your, what additional policies and strategies would you introduce to overcome the problem of talent?
在这边其实我有两个问题哦，这个想要讲的就是我们知道台湾现在有人才短缺的问题，大概90%的企业都有缺工的这个情形。政府呢也提出了非常积极有野心的计划，希望能够吸引外籍的人才，包含几年前所推出的就业金卡方案，希望能够透过这个平台来吸引外籍的人才。我想请教，首先柯主席认为就业金卡这样子的计划，或是政府目前吸引外籍人才的政策是否有效？那第二就是柯主席若上任总统的话，会有什么其他额外吸引人才的方案跟政策呢？
第一点我是相信市场规则的人，所以我认为对于这种台湾缺工的问题，最简单的方法就是开放外劳市场，但是要课人头税，就是说开放外劳市场，然后按照不同的职业别课人头税。那事实上只要调整那个每年调整那个人头税，自然就可以会控制这个每个产业这种外劳的人数。所以回答你的话是这样的，我觉得台湾还是我们要让整个国家更像企业，就说没有理由政府看起来就要很怎么讲 stupid 对不对？我们一直觉得说，为什么我们政府不可能变成很 smart， 很 edgy 很连贯的？奇怪，为什么看起来都很 stupid？ 所以我倒觉得这样的，我们最重要让政府能够像，也许新加坡政府这个一个模范。所以回答的话就是说，如果你对这种就业金卡有不满意的地方，那你觉得哪个地方需要改进，你把它列出来，我们就去把它解决掉。我一直认为的政府会比业界更了解市场，所以政府常常要去做什么事情都会失败。所以这种情形下是政府一定会成功，就是解决业界的困难。你有什么困难，帮你解决掉，这个通常会得到最高的满意度。
I believe in the rule of the market, so I believe that the way of solving this labor shortage or talent shortage here in Taiwan is to open up our market for foreign laborers and talents. However, according to different professional classes, we would charge duties or tariffs based on the headcounts. And every year, as we adjust the tariff or the duties that are subject to, we can control the number of these foreign laborers and talents working in Taiwan. I think the Taiwanese government needs to work more like a company or an enterprise. And there is no reason why a government needs to look stupid. There is every reason why we should look smart and agile. So maybe, for example, the Singaporean government can be a model. So if anyone has any concern or question about the gold card employment platform, then you can list the deficiencies that you think there are, and as a government, we can try to solve these issues and problems. Because I believe it's the companies that know the industry and market the best. So the only way that a government can succeed is to solve the problems and issues encountered by companies.
Thank you. And another question. There are two questions there. We start from the lady first, behind you. Please introduce yourself.
我用中文来提问。主席好，我是台湾诺华药厂罗文琪。我们诺华是目前在台湾最大的跨国国际药厂。那我们现在在我今天有一个请求跟一个问题哦。那一个问题是说，想知道民众党在医疗保健方面接下来的一个政策方向，大概什么时候会能够有一个比较公开的一些分享。那一个请求是在说，事实上，台湾的新药上市的延迟呢，其实已经对于台湾民众的一个健康，造成了跟邻近国家的一个差距，那也影响了我们跨国药厂在台湾的投资。诺华每一年在台湾的临床投资都是上亿计算的，但是呢，因为我们的新药在台湾上市太慢，所以总部会开始来看说，台湾还是要放在第一波上市的国家吗？还是会把我们的 priority 越来越往后放？那这是一点。那另外，在这个总体的健康投资跟其他国家比较不足的方面，跨国药厂在台湾中华民国开发制药协会 RPMA 的一个合作之下呢，我们今年有针对台湾的健康投资做了一个请这个顾问公司做一个详细的一个体检的一个报告。那在里面指出说，我们的健康投资整体的医疗保健支出占 GDP 只有6%，远低于日本的11%，韩国的9%，跟 OECD 国家9到10%。那事实上已经造成了一些健康的影响，譬如我们的平均余命是少于日韩2年以上的。那在还有一些可避免的死亡率、新生儿死亡率跟癌症存活率方面，也都有越来越大的差距。所以在这个部分的话，我的请求是希望主席能够在您规划医疗保健政策方面的时候，将增加台湾在健康医疗保健方面的投资，能够视为一个很重要的亮点，因为我们已经开始看到这个部分的一个对台湾带来的影响。那我们希望台湾在面临超高龄社会的时候，我们能够赶快加快我们的脚步，来保护国人的健康。谢谢。
这个题目实在太长了。第一点这个星期三跟星期四连续2天我们会开记者会，宣布台湾民众党的健康政策。第一点，第二点，你最关心那个题目现在我们台湾拿到药物许可证，然后要申请那个健保记录，大概平均是2年。我觉得是这样的健保还是要维持它的。这以前也是我讲的话，就是说，不管在怎样的资本主义国家他们2样要维持社会主义，一个是教育，一个是医疗。但是也不需要为了要维持它一个医疗的普遍性然后去抑制它的智慧市场发展。所以回答你的话，我将来是这样，只要新药拿到药物许可证，你知道它就可以智慧市场开始卖。然后你要去申请那个健保记录，那就慢慢走程序。但是这种智慧市场有个条件，公开透明，就是每一个医院，你知道，它有使用智慧的项目，它要把它的价格要上公开。我也认为公开透明是解决所有纷争最简单的方法。所以回答你的话就是说，医疗政策我们礼拜3、礼拜4会发布。你最关心那个新药延迟上市的话，我目前的想法就是。拿到药物许可证就可以在智慧市场卖。你要申请那个健保记录，要跟你拖2年，那就难多。但是，一旦进入智慧市场，我们只用公开透明的方式去解决它。现在你要既然进入智慧市场还要在这个地方政府审查，我觉得这也不切实际。你想想看像台北市比较大，还有可能去审查那个智慧项目的价钱。 如果遇到麻薯怎么办？所以那没有道理的。所以我在觉得刚才讲过，就是说，那要去一个证，就以上数位市场，但是数位市场我们用公开透明的方法去管制它。
So the question was about the policies of TPP on healthcare as well as the delayed new drug to the market issue. And the answer is on Wednesday and Thursday we are going to have a public announcement on the healthcare policies of TPP. So please stay tuned. And for the second one, in terms of the timeline for new drug approval here in Taiwan and getting the reimbursement price from the National Health Insurance Scheme. In Taiwan right now, the average is about 2 years for getting the new drug improvement and also reimbursement decision. However, I have said that before, that even in a capitalist country, there are two things that need to remain socialist. That is education and medicine. But at the same time, there is no reason why we should suppress market development simply because we want to achieve the universal Medicare in Taiwan. So our policy or our countermeasure is that in the future, once a new drug gets the market approval, then it should be made available for the payers to pay at their own cost for using this drug. As for the national health reimbursement, they can move on with the process with the time they have. However, in order for a drug to be offered at the payer's own pocket or own price, then we need to have transparency and openness. So all the hospitals need to open up, their rationale for charging a certain price for a certain drug. Right now in Taiwan, for a drug to be used as insurance-paid drug, the local government still needs to review it and give approval. However, this, I believe, is unrealistic because for an urban metro like Taipei City, it will be possible for us to do such a review, but in a small city like Matsu, this is quite impossible.
Thank you. You have a question.
主席好，主席我是汪长敏，那是欧洲商会健康永续委员会的会员之一哈。那其实我的问题跟前一位女士她的问题是相近的，但是想要今天很谢谢主席精彩的分享，谈到永续的议题，因为除了环境永续以外，其实健康的永续也是现在台湾社会众所瞩目的一个议题哦。那当然就是说，其实世界卫生组织或现在先进国家普遍把对健康上的花费视为是一种投资，而不是成本。那因此就衍生了刚刚所提出的问题，就是整个台湾的在医疗上面的支出占 GDP 的比例，无论是在整体的支出，或是在公部门的医疗的支出，或是在健保的支出，或是医药品的支出，其实我们和日韩以及 OECD 新兴国家相比，都有一个显著的差距。那也越来越多的专家认为，这样的一个差距如果不能够再增加投资的话，那可能对于刚刚所提到的这些健康指标会有不利的影响，包括平均余命等等哦。那当然就是说，未来也很期待听到这个主席这边在未来2天会发布所谓的健康政策，那把健康视为是一种投资，那让整个台湾的医疗永续，还有就是公共卫生的体系都能够向上发展。那也感谢主席今天的莅临，谢谢。
So my question and comments is actually very similar to the lady that we have heard before me. So we believe that in addition to sustainability in the energy sector, healthcare sustainability is also an important topic. Right now, in the WHO and in emerging countries around the world, people are now considering health expenditure as an investment, not as a cost. So in Taiwan, just like what we have said, if we look at the overall healthcare expenditure, health expenditure in the public sector, in our national health insurance program, and in drugs, we can see that there is a gap between Taiwan's expenditure in these areas compared to other neighboring countries such as Japan and South Korea, that we are lower in terms of the share of our healthcare expenditure in our overall GDP. And if we don't ramp up the investment in this area very quickly, then this will have a detrimental effect to different health indicators of Taiwan, including life expectancies. So once again, I would like to say that thank you for considering issues in this area, and we look forward to hearing the new healthcare policies announced by the TPP.
小英总统上任的时候，医疗卫生支出占 GDP 的6.2，那到去年大概爬到6.6。那事实上，在这6.6% 里面 健保支出实际上只占3.3%，其他就是智慧市场啊，还有一些公共卫生的。那当然，韩国大概已经是8.多%，接近9%，日本是11%的。所以关于台湾的医疗问题啊，或者更广泛的讲，医疗卫生问题，其实有一个很重要的问题的一个缺点就是我们给的钱不够。那当然是这样的因为这里很多记者，我跟大家讲我当医生的时候，30年前我当医生的时候，我们在台大医院可以领很低的薪水，但是很认真的工作，是因为台大医院给我们无上的荣耀。可是今天你没有办法在跟年轻人做，为了一个光荣，那你可以领很低的薪水去工作，太困难了。你想想看这也是为什么现在根本每个医院都缺护士、护理师的它因为很简单你这个是市场决定一切，你这个薪水低，它就是不干。所以回答你的话呢，我们目前整个台湾的那种公共卫生的成绩都比日本、韩国低的，包括这个平均寿命这个产妇死亡率，其实我们都落后。真正的原因就是钱不够啊。我们有什么理由 GDP 6.6% 的一个国家，要跟那个日本11% 的国家一样没道理。但是这样的，医疗卫生支出要增加的，大概8% 的是最新的目标，只是说要从6.6一直上升到8%的，在过程当中哪一个要先增加，哪一个先做后做。我也不赞成说不要乱开支票，也不可能说我当总统第2年就占8%的，也不会。目标是8%，但是要5年慢慢增加。那在过程当中哪些要优先做，这个我们都有想法。
When President Tsai took office, she announced that the health expenditure of Taiwan as a percentage of our GDP was 6.2%, and last year that number rose to 6.6%. Out of this 6.6%, the NHI, National Health Insurance Scheme, accounted for 3.3%, and the rest goes to other market measures and public health expenditure. We know that in South Korea, that share of health expenditure to GDP is about 9%, and in Japan it's 11%. So when we talk about all these issues and problems in Taiwan's healthcare and public health, I think it all comes down to one reason, and that is insufficient funding. 30 years ago, when I was still a surgeon in National Taiwan University's hospital, we were able to work very hard despite the low pay, because the reputation and honor that comes with working in that hospital was enough compensation for us. However, it's very difficult to convince young people today to work for honor and reputation. So money and funding determines a lot of things. That is also the reason why we're seeing a shortage of nursing staff in almost all hospitals here in Taiwan, because the market is not offering enough of compensation. So to answer your questions, in Taiwan, we are indeed lacking in public health expenditure, and that has affected our life expectancy and maternity death rate. Because of insufficient funding, because we only have 6.6% as a share of GDP in health care expenditure, that is why, of course, we are faring worse than other countries who are spending 11% of their GDP on healthcare. Our target is that the share of healthcare expenditure needs to be raised to about 8% of our GDP. However, when we move along towards 6 to 8%, then what are some of the items or areas that we need to prioritize? I don't want to give, unsubstantiated promises here, but I can tell you that as we move from 6% to 8%, we have given it a very good thought about what are the areas that need to be prioritized as we move up the investment target.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question, personal question, more on the political side. So today we have 4 candidates for the presidential campaign, and they can become more, they can become less. Okay, and which one do you like the most as competitor, and which one do you like the least as competitor, and why?
我们最后这个问题，我们知道目前台湾大选有4位总统候选人，未来可能会新增，也可能会减少。想请教柯主席，在这些可敬的对手里面，哪一个是您最喜欢的，哪一个是您最不喜欢的对手？ 还有为什么？
我喜欢不喜欢没有用啊，台湾人民喜欢不喜欢才是决定因素啊。不过我觉得这样啊，每个人都有他的优点跟缺点啊。但是不管谁当选啊，他们都必须继续在这个世界存活下去。所以，我倒觉得这样啊，每一个心态就是说，不管在选举前怎么竞争的，选举后我们都会想办法让台湾成为一个比较和谐团结的国家，这大概是我的想法。
So my preferences is not the point. The point is what's Taiwanese people's preference. I think everyone comes with their own strengths and weaknesses. And no matter who's elected at the end, I think Taiwan needs to continue to survive in this world. So my belief is that before the election, we put up a good fight. But after the election, we will work together to make Taiwan a more harmonious place where everyone works in solidarity.
Chairman Kerr, thank you so much for your time today. It was very, very interesting to hear all your thoughts. We have prepared, in anticipation of your electoral win, we have prepared a bottle of champagne for you. Fine European product.
我们期待这个柯主席高票当选，所以事先准备了这个香槟。
I'd also like to invite the head table to join us on stage, please. At the head table.
请主桌的宾客也上台。
Henry, everybody. Tom. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming today. 谢谢。
主席刚刚讲说要扣人头税，可不可以稍微讲一下内容？你在说话。主席可不可以稍微讲一下你刚放外，然后市场然后扣人头税，这个月怎么执行？好了，小心。小心。小心！好，我们要走了。哎呀，破坏了！谢谢，感谢联盟，我们再聊。好，谢谢。不要太疲劳。可以讲一下人头税的部分，那您的政策记者会什么时候才要公布？没有了。礼拜3、礼拜4。不好意思哦。感谢你们的。